Attention sports enthusiasts, keep the adrenaline pumping and elevate your game day with Chumba Casino. It's completely free to play. No purchase necessary. Whether you're cheering from the stands, on the move, or relaxing at home, Chumba Casino brings the thrill of social casino directly to your fingertips. Experience the ultimate social casino adventure with reels of casino-style games, offering hundreds of exciting options to choose from and fresh new releases every week. There's always something new and thrilling to explore, from action-packed social slots and classic blackjack to engaging bingo and solitaire. The fun never stops. Plus, enjoy generous daily login bonuses and a fantastic free welcome bonus to kickstart your social gaming journey. Dive into the excitement. Discover a world where you can play for your chance to redeem some serious prizes and have a blast along the way. Don't miss out. What are you waiting for? Join now and immerse yourself in nonstop fun and adventure with Chumba Casino. Get in on the action today at ChumbaCasino.com and make every day a Chumba day. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus TNC supply.
Emotionally unavailable.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hey everybody, happy Friday. I hope it's fabulous. I am tired as Charlie has had an ear infection and has been up in the middle of the night a lot the last couple of nights. So it's been rough. I'm tired. I also interviewed with someone early this morning. So anyway. Okay. Today's guest is Arlene Cohen Miller. She brings a wealth of training and experience to help you compassionately and wholeheartedly leave yourself and create the life that works and feels right for you. A life where you experience less stress and more patience, kindness, and peace. A life where you experience more contentment and joy. She's a work-life harmony and leadership coach for women. A personal certified coach with the International Coaching Federation and a transformational mentor for men and women. Arlene is also a V-rated Colorado attorney, a certified meditation facilitator, and has a diploma in Transformational Holistic Counseling from Australia. She is an expert at negotiating and communicating from the heart and has successfully structured and monitored thousands of settlements and have helped people from all walks of life to communicate more authentically and effectively. We had a really good conversation. In the show notes, I'm going to include links to, her website, Instagram, and YouTube, and a link to something. Let's see. Oh, I think this is a link to her website, but it's like where you can, if you want to find her for coaching. Also, I'm going to share her email, and if you say your name and how you found her, like my podcast name, Emotionally Unavailable, you can get a free mini soul reading. So anyways, I'm so sorry for such a shitty introduction. I'm just so tired and my brain's not working, and I got to get this done so that I can get the episode released. So, Arlene, sorry for the shitty introduction. I loved our conversation, and I know that it will help the people listening. All right, so that's it. Have a fabulous Friday, a wonderful weekend. I love you. Thanks for being here. As always, please just listen to the ads and understand that it's an easy way for me to get an income from this thing, and we need that. So, okay. I guess that's all. Here is me and Arlene.
emotionally unavailable.
All right. You let me push record. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Okay, so I was reading your profile again this morning, and so we're already recording. We're just gonna jump right in. I don't even know where to start because you're a very interesting person. Is it okay if I start with you telling me what soul readings are? Because I was
Sure.
super drawn to that.
You can do whatever you want to do. I've had a kind of a varied life. It sort of all comes together for me, but however you want to conduct the interview is just fine.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? And is your name pronounced Arlene?
Arlene Cohen
Okay.
Miller, yes.
Well, I mean, obviously your profile is it's impressive, but I feel like even though our paths are totally different, I still feel like it's very similar too, in that you do this thing and yours happen to be law, but that you kind of figure out a way to integrate all these mind, body, spirit elements into whatever it is that you're doing. And I love that you're teaching other people how to do that too. But yes, I was like, what is a soul reading? I'm really excited to hear about that.
Sure, we can talk about whatever you want. I'm happy to start with any place you want. Always good.
Okay. So what is it? Tell me about it.
Well, I learned how to do so. I was always really empathic, intuitive, and sensitive. And about 5 or 6 years ago, a friend was trained by a really cool, amazing woman how to do soul readings. And she was a financial counselor, and she just wasn't feeling to do it anymore, and she wanted to pass it on. And so I had done mind, body, spirit fears before when I just did readings of people where I was just talking to them. But she taught me to work with psychic tarot oracle cards. And what I love about it is that um, as adults, we really having a visual picture to help us get in touch with things makes a huge difference. So I use them more from a mentoring standpoint. My client picks some cards, I pick some cards. It depends how long the reading's going to be. And of course, we can do it online. I just sort of put all the cards out and just move my fingers, and they tell me when to stop. And the idea is that I'm not going to the astral plane. I'm not doing this psychically because I feel that's kind of a low vibrational place to go. There's a lot of fear there. There's a lot of stuff there that I don't want anything to do with. And so I just heart to heart connect with a person like soul to soul. So my soul to your soul is doing this reading. And like you would pick some cards, I would pick some cards. If it was a full like half-hour reading, it'd probably be like 10 cards each. And then but if it's a shorter reading, then I just alter it to 6 or 8 cards, whatever we have time for, like when I used to do mind, body, spirit fairs. And then what I'm sharing with, and you can tell me like whatever you want to focus on, but since we're not focusing on the personality, we're focusing on the soul. I usually don't get like, even if you know, am I going to meet a man? Am I going to make some more money? It will come out, it'll probably come out somewhere in the cards, but it's not going to give you a direct answer because it's going to tell you opportunities that are available for you, challenges that might be in your path, how to go around those challenges, how to let that stuff go that's not working for you, and maybe embrace some qualities that will help you to, to step up more clearly into where you want to go. So it's very much like soul to soul. And why I really love it is that I'm not telling people what to do, because in any moment, there's like the highest, clearest, brightest path that we can step forward on. But there's also many other paths. And often we don't pick the highest, clearest, brightest.
We sure don't.
But once we pick it, that's the highest, clearest, brightest path for you now. And then you work from there, and all sorts of possibilities open for you. So I like the person to decide their own destiny and to partner with them and support them stepping forward. And what they want to do with the reading is really up to them. But I always ask people, most people do, some people don't, to record it, to take a picture of the card and work with it for the next 3 months and see what happens.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So tell me about you picking cards and then picking cards. Is it more of a mirroring kind of thing, or?
No, when I asked them to pick their cards, I asked them to pick it from their personality, human point of view. And then when I pick the cards, I pick them more from the soul and the spirit point of view. And then,
Okay.
but they all become one reading when I lay out the cards, because I sort of
Sure.
look at the cards and I sort of lay them out in a way that feels right in the moment. And then I always pick like 2 or 3, depending how many cards I pick. Like those are the cards that glue everything else together. And then the whole reading revolves around that. And I can't really tell you how to do it. I'm just like feeling
Yeah,
what
yeah,
what
no,
what
I get that.
what's appropriate in the morning and in the moment, not in the morning. And then I act from there. And I really love it because, some people, it does work hand in hand with coaching or mentoring, which is what I do. And I often, I do teach spiritual classes every week, like transformational healing kind of classes. And I do bring them in for group readings into those classes, because oftentimes, if you're sharing a topic that can be a little bit challenging for someone, maybe like turning your inner critic into an inner coach, or something that they have resistance to, working with the cards and having people who are in the class share some kind of questions or comments they'd like to throw into the mix of the cards really helps them to hear the topic in a different way that can help them move forward. So I use them in that capacity as well. And people love it, because
Yeah.
they're a part of the process, and it doesn't feel sometimes so confronting as a topic that they're having some resistance to. So I just find them a really great tool for mentoring and just for straight reading.
Yeah. And do you ever teach them how to do this as well, or is that not part of your mentoring?
Not really, because I know that I was taught and sort of like overlighted in the process to do so. I don't really think that that's my purpose here, but I think
Yeah.
it is my purpose is to share it. And so that's why I don't do that. I feel like my purpose here is to be a mentor, to be a coach, to be a
Mm-hmm.
speaker, to be a facilitator, but I don't really feel the calling that I'm being like overlighted to share this in a way that'll help other people. I mean, people can study tarot or however you say it, or other,
Anywhere. Agree. I
yeah,
agree. No.
and they can learn that modality, and if they allow their heart to flow through it and connect with the person, it might be very similar. But yeah, I just haven't
Yeah,
sort
because
of
you
received that
definitely use them
inspiration.
way different than I do, but I don't see a superiority like anywhere. Like I feel like tarot has, but I will say this. I was still very much battling perfectionism when I got my first deck. And so you know how it is, like I have to do this right. So where did I go? Google. And then I was like, oh, this is overwhelming. Like this person says this. And so I decided, which I often do in life, actually, this is one of my strengths, is to be like, I don't believe that. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm just supposed to do whatever I want with these cards. So I kind of did. And I started learning how to like read them more intuitively. Like I have a very basic understanding of the journey and what each card means, what basic. But I look at the card, like for instance, anytime I pull the Empress, I get this feeling that this is the words that got to me the first time. And then I was like, are you feeling this, to my oldest son? Because I was like doing energy, like just trying to figure out what symbols meant when they popped up in my brain. So anyway, the phrase is in your feelings about love. Every time I pull the Empress, that's I'm always like, oh, are you dead? Oh, it's 11:11 right now. That's happened like 4 times this week. That's so funny. But so like there's just different symbolism that will pop in my brain. Like for instance, the 3 of Cups, I actually view as more like paranoia in your female relationships, like not like you've had some strain there. That's what it like always comes up for me when I'm reading that card. And it's because of just like staring at the faces and like anyway, about the cards. But
Well, I want to share one thing that I do as well. Okay, I
yeah,
got the
yeah.
basic understanding of how to use the cards, but let's say if our topic for a class is changing your inner critic into an inner coach, how to do that, or someone asks me a question when I'm doing a reading for them, I'm going to bring those cards back to the questions that they asked and
Hmm.
feel into that, and then allow that to flow through me as well, so that I'm not saying the same thing every time. It's
Right.
what's ever coming up. So I'm doing what you're doing. I got that basic. And then my friend who really taught me, she said, look, this is what it feels like to me. That was what came through. And it was like a mentor of both of ours, who's just an amazing lady that helped her through this process. But this is what I'm sharing, and then I bounced it off her. But you need to, like you're talking about, bring your own knowing to the situation. It's never going to be
Yeah.
static, which is
Well, and you
exactly
have
what
to
you're
be
saying.
like, yes. And you have to, I didn't get great sleep last night. Today's supposed to be great for me communication wise. We're struggling.
Okay.
Like I'm blanking on words a lot. I'm gonna try not to get frustrated about it because it'll make it worse. But what was I gonna say?
About how you work with the cards.
Confident. Yeah, like you have to, because it took me a very long time to really lean into the idea and belief that I was very intuitive. This has been a gift I've had my whole life, but one I was very resistant to because of religious programming. So
Right.
where I had the breakthrough in reading the cards is when I stopped caring so much about, like, because listen, I watch mediums on TV. I've always been obsessed with mediums, especially like because my dad died when I was 15. So I'm obsessed. Like
Oh,
James Van Frog on Oprah, baby, obsessed, obsessed. Like I would just be like, and I believed in it, all of them, all the time. And people be like, oh, that's fake. And I'm like, I don't think so. So when I started reading the cards, I think there was like this part of me that just didn't want anyone to doubt my sincerity, my truth, any of that. And I was so afraid of the reception of the whole thing that I got in my head. But once I really
right.
just kind of quit caring about all that and understood, I am still learning. Like there are still symbols. Like I'm the translator. So it's coming through my filter, my brain, and like whatever the symbol is, like I don't always get it right. I'm like, well, this is bringing up a memory of mine, so I'm going to share this and da 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 da, but like it's not always this immediate, does that resonate? And they're like, oh my God, yes. Like, I mean, most of the time it's pretty close to that. But like, I was so afraid of them being like, no, I don't explain that. Like, even just, can you explain that more? Would be like, I really can't because I'm scared because I'm afraid I did it wrong. I just overthought
Yeah.
it so much in the
Yeah.
beginning.
And what I do if someone doesn't have a connection with it, I said, that's fine. I'm just sharing you what the cards are saying. Keep, watch it. Maybe something will come through in the next 3 months. Maybe it won't. All I can do is share with what the cards are saying and what they feel like to me for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you use it to the best of your ability and see what happens. So I just, I want to do the best I can, but we're not perfect.
Right.
We do the best we can, and we're a vessel, so
Yes.
and I'm always doing my best to be more and more psychologically clear. That's a big focus of mine in the kind of work that I do and the kind of mentoring I get. But I'm not perfect. I'm still not 100.
Sure.
We're still not 100% psychologically clear by any stretch of the imagination. So that
Right.
we're of service to the best that we can in each moment. And if we make a mistake, it's just an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I have I was again really into mediums, and I finally worked up the nerve to go see one years ago, about maybe 4 years ago now. I ended up seeing him about 3 times in that year because it was just so moving. And but the third time I went to see him was really more about like, how can I tap into that? Because I know that I can, I just don't know how. So we just had this whole conversation about it, but he gave me this notebook to start like keeping notes when I did tarot readings. And it's hilarious. I'm just going to pause to say you didn't need all that backstory, but my Gemini ass just had to give it to you. Like,
No, I find it really interesting because everyone's interested in different things, and I'll just share my view of mediums, and you can not like it or not like it. But
yeah,
I feel like, when someone dies, that it's important not to hold on to them and just to wish them well and to allow them to move forward. And sometimes when we do that kind of medium stuff, we're kind of holding them back because we miss them so much and we want them to be in our lives. I mean, I can remember after my mother's mother died, and I had this dream, and she was sitting in an auditorium, and she was like ashen, she was gray. And she was watching something that was on the stage, and I said, Grandma, you're dead, you need to leave now. And so she something was keeping her back in those lower planes, and she hadn't gone on to her next life yet. And so that's what concerns me about medium stuff, that it's important to, I mean, when my best friend died, whoops, my my microphone's thing, sorry. She
That's
came to
okay.
me in a dream, and now it's back again. And she just let me know that she was all right. You know, I was 44 and she was 47 and she died of cancer. And she just wanted to
Ugh.
let me know that she was fine, she was happy, she was laughing, she looked so beautiful. And then that was it. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's so I have conflicting feelings about that mediumship, that it's important to let people go. Let them go on
Yeah.
to their next thing. And that's my only really big reservation with that.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I've had so many different thoughts about it as like the years have gone on. Like for instance, I kind of had this melancholy about 6 months ago to where I was like, okay, so if my parents, 'cause both my parents are gone, but if my parents were only here under this contract and this role in my life at this time, then now, like, why do I still mean something to them? And why? And it just like, it just made it kind of sad for me, because it was like, oh, well, then they're just on to their next life or whatever, like they're not thinking of me the way I'm thinking of them or whatever. But then I've met a couple mediums on the show, and one of them really did give me great peace, actually not that long ago, because and she said something that very first medium said, but it was about my mom. And it was I asked, like, is she on my spirit team, because it felt really like she was. And he said yes, and then they both said that she the last medium said it in a way that I could understand it, but basically, like, she didn't pass her mission here. And part of that was to be a support to me. Like, a big part of hers was to be a support of me. And she really sucked at that here. And so she's being a support to me on the other side. And that I believed, and it made me feel better, but it also gave me peace about, like, my grandma, who was my primary caregiver most of my life, but she also had deep issues. I would call her a narcissist, but like, I had been in a very angry place with her for years, and just putting it like that, like, okay, so that's why our soul contracts were in place. So for in this life, you were to support me in this way, and neither of them did. But like, I don't know. So in that way, it really gives me peace. But I also can see what you're saying too, because who really knows, like, what they're supposed to be doing?
And what you're sharing with me brings up two things to share. Number one is that, we're a soul having a human experience here, and oftentimes we incarnate in groups. So,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the person that's my son now was a father in another time. So we've had lots of different relationship experiences because something draws us together. Also, there's a person that I know that she and her partner kind of like worked out all their karma while he was dying, and while they were, they were friends or together. And now this person is kind of like a guardian angel for her to help her move forward, because this person is choosing, working with his guides, not to incarnate now, but to go through more deep learning and study to be more of his highest, clearest, brightest self when he incarnates again. And I learned of this, and that feels real to me as well. So I don't have all the answers, but
Yeah.
those are two other pieces that have sort of dropped in my lap, through mentors and guides and stuff like that, or on the ground. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think there's no way that we can know the whole picture when we're
Sure. We can't.
when they're in these 3D or 4D forms.
Yeah. I think above all, it really gave me more clarity about me. Like, my mission, my purpose, and also just like a better understanding of anchoring into this human experience, like and so sometimes I think we get the information we need and at the time that we need it, just because for the last year, I've really, even with my own children, really started to look at myself and my role in their lives as more of like a shaman, like, because I don't get as much control as I used to think that I did. I mean, I was one of those unreasonable mothers with that oldest child of mine, like, just harsh expectations, all because I wanted to look good. That was it. That's the truth. That I learned that along the way. Like, the only reason you care about any of this is because of your appearance. Like, if your kid doesn't get straight A's or isn't quarterback on the football team or whatever it is, that really drove me a lot, because I mean, most, like all actually of my generation and older, we were very much made to care about appearances, because that's kind of what everybody cared about. And the boomers viewed like children as a direct extension and reflection of them, because they were kind of not really the first, but the first like widespread women in the workplace, but there weren't like as many as there are now. And so many of those mamas just got all their identity through this, raising of children. And so my generation, the boomers, the silent generation, all of them, like, we were just made to care a lot about what people think about us. And I think that that really reflected in our parenting. So I think that's kind of the shift here on out, because I'm just seeing all these kids. I mean, you know what I'm saying. They don't care if they're late to work. They don't care. Like, they just don't care about stuff the way, like, I was like, oh, what would they think about me if I was late to work? Or, like, just quit my job, or whatever my little Gen Z children do. I have an 18-year-old who just, like, he does not think about things the way I was taught to think about them, because I haven't taught him to think about them that way. But it's like tough sometimes when I'm sitting over here. He literally just graduated high school, so I'm kind of just letting him like feel through some mistakes and whatever. But oh my gosh, it drives me insane sometimes, because I'm like, how can you not care about like what your boss thinks about you? But I don't say it, because I'm so glad too. Like, this is a part of growing up, and you just have to determine what you want to care about and whatever. But we were really made to care a lot about what people think, and that really reflected on the way we treated our kids. And so the years have gone on to where I've tried to care less. This daughter of mine, who's almost 11, she really pushed me over the don't care edge, because she is her own thinker. And like, sometimes when she walks out of this house and wearing something, I'm like, oh, okay, well, if you feel good, I feel good.
Yeah. Well, I'm a baby boomer, and I was so attached to my son. Making friends, having friends, being welcomed, fitting in. And it just wasn't that way when he was younger. And I felt devastated. And I was mentored about that, and just was like, Arlene, the way you're holding on to him and wanting to make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes is extremely arrogant and selfish. And I was really taken aback, but they were absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And as he was like, I think I started when he was around 15, but I just stepped back. It's like, I love you, but if you fail, I know that's going to really help you. And he did fail a bunch of times,
Yeah.
but he's a grown man. He's 38. And I think if I hadn't stepped back and allowed him to fail and feel that experience of failure, he wouldn't be the amazing success he is today. He's an amazing entrepreneur. He's like, he was a chess champion in high school, and I had
Oh, I
nothing to
love
do.
that.
I had nothing to do genetically or anything.
Yeah,
with
you're
that.
like, okay.
Other than providing transportation and going and supporting him, it's not from me. It's not.
Yeah.
But anyway, not my genetic line. But actually, my father was good at chess, but it didn't connect with me. But and now he's like teaching chess and before and after school programs, and very successful. And he loves what he's doing. He has people working for him. But I know in my heart of hearts, if I hadn't listened to that advice, he could have been a very different person, because it was so growthful, even though it was very hard for me as his parent to watch him fail at something, or something to fall apart. But he became strong. And I am just so grateful that I listened, because I was making it about me. Like, I was really making it personal about me. I wasn't a good mother.
Yeah, we all do. Yes,
And
exactly.
and so now he's his own person. He's been for years. And I'm just, like I said, I'm so grateful.
Well, you gave him the gift of learning to trust himself, because that's what was robbed of us. Really, the number one thing that is taken from a child, besides their innocence, when you demand the type of compliance that was demanded in our generations, that's what you take from them, is their ability to trust themselves, because they see themselves as fundamental, I don't know how to say this, but fuck ups. That is unworthy of love and belonging because they can't possibly make a good decision. And I remember feeling that, you know?
Yeah, I felt that too, but I was like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. You know, I decided when I
Sure.
was 15, I was going to become a lawyer. And my parents were like, whatever. But they ended up, my father was an entrepreneur and he really did end up supporting me. And there was some things, mistakes. There's choices that I made that he was really upset about. And he wrote some letters that he never sent to me. He said, I think I destroyed them if I didn't. Please don't read them when I die. Throw them away. I don't feel that way now. So I think we both learned and grew in the process, and with my mother too, when she was, upset with some things that I did. She eventually came around too. So I guess it's possible no matter what generation you come from, and they were
Oh,
born in the
sure.
in the 20s to really have a kid that sort of, kicks their butt a little bit, and challenge their how they were raised. And
Yeah.
I didn't do it on purpose, but I was the first child and I just couldn't live with it. So anyway,
Yeah. No,
um,
I get that. I get
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I did have a question. What is I could have Googled this, and I'm sorry if it's annoying to ask you this, but what is a V-rated attorney?
AV rated attorney.
Yeah.
An AV rated attorney is the highest rating you can get as an attorney.
Oh, how are you rated? I don't
Um,
know anything about
you
this.
well you can ask to be rated. You can have people who are your colleagues send in testimonials for you and ask to be rated by Martindale Hubble, which is a company that rates attorneys. And so I did that and I got the highest rating.
That's
So it
so
was just,
cool.
yeah, I'm not a practicing attorney anymore. I'm still licensed in Colorado. I've owned and sold two law practices. One's a solo and one is a partner. Um, but yeah, I thought, well, why not? the worst,
Yeah, I'm
the worst
here,
they can,
right?
the worst they can do is say no. So,
Yeah.
so that's what I did.
So you've kind of always just followed your passions then, yeah?
I have, sometimes I've, procrastinated and mostly I've listened, but there's been moments that I haven't. But there's been procrastination and little battles inside of me to move forward, and moments when I really created a lot of anxiety and stress for myself, in that process, because I was sort of breaking the patterning and programming that I came up with. And it wasn't they wanted the best for me. My
Sure.
father, expected that I would just get married and have kids, and to provide me with an education on top of that. To him, that was amazing, and he was doing it with so much love because that's the way he was raised.
Sure.
And so when I broke that mold, I felt a lot of, guilt and stress, and until I just finally said, I'm just not doing that anymore, which was about my third year of law school, not undergraduate, because my both of my parents got college educations and they were supportive. So there was some patterning and programming that I really had to let go of within myself, to let go of that stress and anxiety that, somewhere deep inside I was doing something wrong.
Yes, that good girl syndrome. My God. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have two brothers. One is 2 years younger than me and one is almost 12 years younger than me.
Oh, that's interesting. Are you close with them?
I am pretty close, not super close. One lives out in Kentucky and one lives in Singapore.
Oh,
And we're all very different, but I got to visit I found a really cheap airplane flight last year, and I went and spent some time with my brother and his partner in Singapore, and it was amazing. It was
was it?
amazing. Oh my gosh, yes, it's like right on the equator, so it's very tropical. The most variety of people I've ever seen in one place ever, all different kinds of
Really?
cultures, and I really had a great time. The food, they apparently, people go out so much to eat, they attract the best chefs in the world for reasonable prices. And everywhere we went, I'm like, oh my God, this food is amazing. You go in a place to eat in a mall, and you would have the most
Gourmet.
amazing gourmet. I mean, it could look pretty ordinary, but you put it in your mouth and you're like, holy cow, now I know why you live here. Well, he lives besides.
Yeah.
His wife partner is from there and he loves living there. But yeah, that's one of the little perks of going to Singapore.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Was that the first time you had gone?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous. I was a person who had really bad case of catastrophic thinking. So I've never done very much travel, really. I went to Argentina and was like, maybe international travel is just not for me, because it was just a lot of like, well, first of all, my husband was pickpocketed like 15 minutes after arriving. So that was fun. Took his brand new phone. I was really sad about that. But I mean, he's the one who had it in a little case on the front of his jeans. So we should have expected that. But I just always, Singapore, honestly, I was kind of traumatized by a news story about Singapore. You probably remember this. But whenever I was between 9 and 13, I can't remember, some American guy, I think, had been visiting and did something wrong, and he got those really bad lashes, with the little thing they had, and it was all traumatic. And so Singapore got marked off my list then. But really, now that I'm like way better at managing all those catastrophic thoughts, I'm thinking about traveling more. But I don't know.
The news is so inflammatory. I mean,
oh yeah.
I have friends like they're my family in Perth, Australia, and there's all things on the news about how big the spiders are and how they have poisonous snakes, and that's what they emphasize. Maybe they do it so people won't come to the country. I don't know, but I've gone there many, many, many times. One of my friends had this tree with spiders in her backyard. None of them were poisonous. She just liked spiders and she'd like to watch them on the web. But if you go in the bush, you just wear comfortable shoes with socks. You're just not stupid any more than when I was younger. I went up to Juneau, Alaska, and there was some hiking where you could see some black bears down below me who had their babies eating berries. You just stay away from them, or you wear bells as you're walking. So I think that there's a lot of things in the news to scare people instead of encouraging them to enjoy life.
Absolutely. I don't even watch it anymore, but I was raised by somebody who was a news fanatic, and she was also a catastrophic thinker, go figure. But like, it was bad. And so I saw all of that stuff, and I used to do it too. And now I'm so careful about what I consume. I don't even like getting on Facebook anymore, because I don't know why we have this culture of sharing that news too. I don't know why some of the things are news stories at all. I just feel like the news is supposed to inform, and there's some things that, like, we don't need that information. There's most things, actually. And I get it. You're trying to run a network and whatever, and that's what sells, but it drives me insane. So I go on Facebook even just to post. Really, the only time I go on there is to check my notifications and to post my promo of this show, because I can't stand it. It's nonstop bad news, bad news, bad news that someone on my friends list is sharing. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that.
You can click on the little X and stop from seeing different people or things if you don't like them on Facebook.
I have hidden so many people.
That's what I do. That's what
I just stop looking at their stuff.
Yeah, I do that too. But there's some people that I really enjoy what they post, so I just, that's what I look for. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and we have to be very vigilant, as to what is okay within our boundaries.
Yeah, and I'm so much more sensitive now. Like, now that I've, have such a strong connection to my body, I feel very physical sensations to seeing bad stuff. And I don't like the way it feels. I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, ugh, over something that I didn't even need to know about.
Yeah, and that's another thing I help people with is energetically, having clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries. And what we can also do is like return energy that's not about us back to its original source with love. One of my friends who's a massage therapist, he's also a shaman. That's not my deal, but I love him. That's what he does. He goes, what mine is what yours is yours, and he sends it back. For me, I just go, I release any energy that's not about me and not about love back to where it belongs in source. And you must leave now, because otherwise, especially if you're in the profession when you're helping people or doing podcasts, we get energetic connections when we're working with people. And so another thing that I love to do is just have a golden cylinder come down around my body, cutting any energetic connections that are not about love, healing where they were. And so I do that all the time, because we might have a lovely conversation here, but maybe one of your kids triggers you and you have a bad hair day moment, that I'm going to feel your stuff and think it's mine. And so it's really important to, have those clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries of what's okay and not okay to have in our life, and to cut cords and send energy back, that doesn't belong to us. Because the only thing that we can deal with and transform into love is our own stuff. I can't do yours, I can't do anybody else's, but I can do mine. And that's why I'm providing a service karmically to send it back so that they can clear their stuff.
Oh, yeah. I do a lot of calling back my energy, but I don't send other people's away. I need to do that more.
Yes,
Because
you do.
it definitely hangs on. It does. And, you know, most of the time I don't have any issues, but there have been a couple times, but it is all the time with social media stuff, like seeing a news
Yeah,
story or something that just
right.
really hurts me to see. And it's kind of new still to get this upset. Like, I don't even remember what it was, nor would I repeat it if I did, because I don't need to share bad news. But it was not anything this serious for me to just start crying to my family. Like, I was like, oh, I hate seeing this stuff. And I'm crying. And my oldest, who's 22, was like, what is going on? And I was like, I don't even want to tell you because it's stupid. But I told him, and he was like, okay, because they're not used to me being this emotional either, or, you know, having this much access to my emotions. But I
Yeah.
feel it physically and I hate it.
So what you can do is when we're releasing energy that's not of me, it's I'm sending energy back that's not about me and not about love, back to where it belongs. So if it's a loving energy that's like unconditional love, or it's about gratitude, or it's about, you know, all those beautiful sacred qualities, that's fine. You know, it can hang around. But if it's not my stuff and it's not about love, it is going back to where it belongs in time and space.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
and so yeah, so that's what I do. I mean, people get concerned, well, if I cut cords, then no one will want to be with me. We're just cutting energetic connections that are not
Energetic
about
stuff.
love.
Yeah.
The loving ones are going to remain. And the
Yeah,
more we're filled with love, the better friend and parent and everything we can be anyway.
absolutely. Throughout this work, well, now I have a different question, but I'll get to that. Let me say it out loud so that I don't forget. I want to know about your spiritual awakening / evolution, but throughout this work, have you found that a big component is learning to like have very few expectations of people?
Expectations are judgments. Judgment is fear. So I'm not perfect when it comes to that, but
Sure.
my goal is to have no expectations. And I find that, you know, if I don't want a client, you know, who's doing coaching or mentoring to go into a specific direction, and I'm just open about it and I don't even know where it's all going to go, I am usually just so pleasantly surprised, because people have their own knowing inside of them of where they need to go with whatever I'm sharing or whatever space I'm holding as a coach. That it's going to be so much better for them. And then if I say, you need to do it my way, well, that's pretty arrogant
Mhm.
of me. You know, they might use this, what I'm sharing, but with their own unique flavor. And I think that that's what's important, to help make it our own. So they'll actually take the steps to let go of fear and doubt and disbelief and patterns and programs that aren't serving them, then do it my
Mhm.
way. You know, how
Mhm.
arrogant is that?
Absolutely. Yeah, because that's been a big piece. I mean, I've really learned that expectations were kind of the center of all my misery. And just learning, like, I'll have the initial very human flare up, and then in reflection, I'll be like, that was just an expectation. Like, it's not that serious. And people are people. Let people be who they are, you know?
Yeah.
So tell me, like, was there a an awakening point that you can like actually pinpoint? Because for me, it was a very specific timing. But
It
have you
just
been on
started.
this path your whole life, or was there like a period?
I think I started to wake up when I got the inspiration, you know, to be an attorney. But I also was born with a lot of anger, you know, a lot of self-righteous anger that I needed to move through as well. But looking back, that's why I was born with it, you know, that,
Hmm.
men were keeping women down and blah, blah, blah. But I was really over the top with it and not really seeing how I wasn't working like with the law of attraction, that, you know, what you focus on is what you get more of. And so I feel that I came in that way, but when I was younger, there was just a lot of things that I needed to let go of, like that feeling that playing the victim instead of stepping forward into my own light. And so part of that was moving through that. But looking back, a lot of it was there. I was just in a very kind of traditional religious family, and I wanted desperately to fit in, and it just took a long time where I did everything that you're supposed to do to fit in, but when I turned about 17, I'm like, I love you guys. I just can't do this anymore. I didn't say that out loud.
Sure.
I just backed away. So I feel like it began to come in gradually, and I'm hoping I'm doing everything I possibly can. So next time around, I maybe come in awake. I come in awake and aware,
Is that a
and
thing?
able to handle things better. I do. There are some people that I've met where they have worked so hard on themselves, where they've come in, and if the people around them are telling them stuff that's just, like you said, not helpful, narcissistic, stupid, he's always got, they've always gone like, well, I've heard what they've shared, how it was for them that, well, that's stupid. I mean, they didn't say it when they were 3 or 4
Yeah,
steps
but they
away.
just immediately rejected it.
It's like, that's stupid. That's their stuff. I'm not gonna take that on board. So I know a couple of people in
Wow.
my life who are like that. Most people are not, but it is lovely to have that role model and that example, that while that is
Absolutely.
possible, and be something that I am aiming towards. Who knows when it'll actually be a reality, but I'm grateful to have to know somebody who kind of was born awake.
Yeah, I'm excited that you told me about that. I've never heard of that. That's amazing, because I kind of thought that was the whole point, was like that you have to be around a bunch of idiots and figure it out yourself.
Well, I think hopefully that with each life we learn more and more, and then if we feel the lessons or whatever they taught us, that's not something I want in my life, and then I can feel why, because we take those feelings with us. Especially, we have to be grounded and fully present in our body and not floating up here. We have to be grounded here now. Then hopefully the goal is that eventually we'll have learned that lesson enough so that we don't have to repeat it again, and we can
Oh,
start.
yeah.
But the thing is also, lots of times if we're awake, we're going to be tested so that we grow fast. So maybe we will have a difficult situation growing up, and we'll have a way to deal with it so that we don't, like I did, shut my heart down. And then when I was older, go through the whole process, which was quite a big deal, to open my heart again. And so we just do the best we can, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, do you believe then that if we have a very solid learning in this lifetime, that we don't go backwards in the next? Like, we're not going to have to get we start at the place we left off, kind of.
From how I've been mentored, the answer is no. And if we've gone through steps and initiations before, it's not going to be as hard the next time, but we will have to like retrace our steps and hopefully get there a lot sooner. And then from there, we're learning new stuff. So
Uh,
it's not like handed to you on a silver platter. But it is important to retrace our steps. We need to do that.
yeah, okay. I have not I This is just kind of new for me. Like, I got really into astrology, and that led me down, a path. But I'm still learning so much.
We're all learning so much. Or if
Yeah,
we're
we
not
are.
learning, then you're just become like one of these adults that all of a sudden you get somewhere and you stop learning and growing. And I just can't even understand that. That just seems so incredibly dead way to live and just boring. Why would we want to do that? That's the
Yeah,
really cool thing, to continue to learn and grow.
absolutely. So in your like coaching and mentorship, is your whole goal with that to kind of like guide people to building like a life they're in love with, or meeting their purpose, or
Well, as a mentor, they're standing on my shoulders and I'm sharing how to do things. As a coach, I'm not doing that. I know that they have the wisdom inside of them, and whatever they bring to the table, I'll work with. But the way I work with both is that the way I've been trained is that I've learned how to hold like this huge space of unconditional love and hold a really nice judgment-free space for people. And the thing is that most people have never experienced that, and it's just a healing space flat out. if I'm talking to you and I'm not thinking about what I'm going to share, or I'm not thinking about how I could one up you, or I'm not thinking about how I can make the conversation about me, my whole goal is just to be there, hold that space, use the training that I have as a mentor and coach for the highest good of that person there, without any expectations of how it's going to turn out, and going at their pace, because I know the people that have mentored me to maybe have said something to me 100 times before the penny drops and I get it in my
Yeah.
heart. So I need to be patient with people. It's not my journey,
Yeah.
they have to do their own thing.
Yeah, so just kind of staying, you're just walking a path with them and helping when they are ready to see certain pieces, you're there to help them uncover that piece.
Right. And as a coach, I might share an intuition or something that I'm noticing about them, that they might not even see, because lots of times we don't notice the stuff we do until we do.
Yeah.
And that might have a light bulb moment that opens them up to something, and it may not. It's like when we're
You,
ready.
yeah, absolutely. It really struck me that you took advice from a mentor about your mothering, because that is not something that I would have been able to do until the last. Actually, nobody would have been able to say that to my face ever. I've learned those things from watching stuff in a very non-threatening way, but I couldn't take advice from people. So I'm very touched by your ability to be coachable like that. Um, but I'm also surprised by it, because you had parents who had a very particular way of doing things, and you were, I'm going to use this word, a little bit of a rebel in that, but yet you were so coachable. Like, what can you say about that?
Well, my parents did the best they could with what they had, and I had a really loving middle class home that I grew up in. And so it wasn't like, and they provided for me if I was interested in something, they supported me. We did family trips together, and with other families near us, we would go down to Florida, and that's when they just had those little, motels, like 2 stories or 1 story on the beach in Florida. And so I really, in many ways, I had a blessed childhood. What was different for me is that I was just so sensitive and empathic and intuitive, not to make me special in any way, that things that wouldn't even register with other people registered with me. So it's not like my parents did anything wrong or anything bad. They were lovely people, and they did a wonderful job. It's to the best of their ability, and how they were
Mm-hmm.
raised. And my grandparents on both sides were really, really lovely people. I just had to break away from that sort of exact way that they were. And
Sure.
so it wasn't like, I had a bad childhood or anything like that. I mean, I did things that
Right.
made my mother crazy. She was a smoker, and I used to draw skulls and crossbones on her boxes of cigarette, and she would get a little bit upset with me. But I
That's
really was,
funny.
but I really wasn't. I challenged them more. I was a little bit more quiet and manipulative, so I didn't really put a lot of stuff into their face until I was about 16 or 17 years old, and I had my little rebellious stage. So yeah, I love my mom and dad. They're not here with me anymore. They did a really wonderful job, but I just didn't agree with everything.
Sure. But that's what I'm saying. You were a real free thinker, and you were kind of determined to forge your own path. In my own experience in doing that, I was not coachable, really. I really wasn't. So I guess I'm just amazed at anybody who is so coachable, particularly about how you're parenting, because that was like, I mean, if someone had said that to me, and it was such a good thing to say too, but like if someone had said that to me, even though I very much needed to hear it, I don't know that we'd still be friends. I mean, really, like I did some stupid stuff in relationships in my 20s because I was so defensive over my children and me as a mom, you know?
Right. Well, I've done plenty of that stuff too. When I was in my no wearing a bra, rah rah, men are pigs kind of stage. It's
Yeah, yeah.
really embarrassing to look back upon. Or there were certain stages where you couldn't tell me certain things. But this mentor that I
Sure.
had, he was such a loving, kind person. And I knew that he had my best interest at heart. And even though it was like, oh my God, that was really hard to hear.
Yeah.
But I just had this knowing inside of me by that time, that this was something I really needed to do. I mean, I didn't have my son till I was 30, so I wasn't a baby. I think he must have been
Maybe
about,
that's the difference
yeah,
too.
I must have been about 44, 45, 46, somewhere in there, maybe a little bit older. So I had plenty of time where I didn't listen, but I went through enough things that were painful that I'm like, as painful as this might be to my human bit, this is something I need to listen to.
Yeah, so you were kind of awake by that point, and it wasn't as hard to take in. Okay, that makes sense, because I'm that age now, so it's much easier as an awakened individual for people. I mean, I don't. Yes, there's that momentary like, I don't like the way that feels, but I'm pretty open and I'm very
Right,
coachable. Like people give me feedback now that I'm like, thank you for that, because I mean, stuff that's like, that's not about me, honey. Like that, I just ignore. But when people are very in tune and know what they're talking about, I'm 100% willing to listen. I don't take every ounce of advice given to me, obviously, but I
right.
am much more coachable in my mid 40s. In my 20s, I was a mess.
So yeah, so don't remember that I'm much older than you. I'm a grandmother. I have 3 grandkids, 16, 12, and 9. So I'm
Wow.
a different place in my life than you, and I totally relate to what you're sharing. And it took a while to really go, wow, there's people that are, a few steps ahead of me, and they're loving and kind, and they're doing the best to help me here, and to, be of service, and I need to listen. And you're there too, and you probably started younger than me, so.
I bet not, honey, because this is all very within the last year. Within the like
Okay.
at 44, I'm about to turn 45 in June, and yeah, this has really just been the year of all the growth and learning that I've like. It's crazy. It's a combination of a lot of things, obviously, and all of the pre-learning and whatever. But like, yeah, no, I'm still growing, obviously.
I hope we all are, because then otherwise we start going backwards.
Yeah, and I don't want that either, for sure. That's why, like, I look at my 30s and I'm like, wouldn't redo that. That's for sure. I'm really happy in my 40s. I mean, even before I hit like burnout and just had a really miserable time, I was doing pretty well in my 40s. It's just an easier time, just so much more confidence and less freaking out about everything. Well, I have loved having you on. Is there any like final anything that you want to say? Just
Well, it's really
anything?
two things. Okay.
Yeah.
Be kind, patient, and tolerant with yourself. That's really important. It's like a trinity: kindness, patience, and tolerance. Number 2, can I share my website?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so my website is Jewel Consultancy, Jewel Consultancy. It has my email address. It has my phone number, anything, if you want anything. And also, I'd like to put out there that I'm now stepping into speaking and doing workshops, and I'd like to do it for conferences, and I'm in training for that. So if you know anybody, or you'd like to introduce me to anybody, or you just like to talk to me about it, maybe you're doing that as well, I would love to meet with you. I'm on LinkedIn under Arlene Cohen Miller. You can message me there, or at my website. But I would love to meet other women, especially who are doing that, or maybe can connect me with somebody, who might be interested in, helping women let go of that stress and that anxiety and that overwhelm, and step into more confidence and calmness and being in our hearts.
Absolutely. I love that. And I saw on your introduction part on the call to action. Do you want me to include that in my show? Because I'm gonna like include all your links and everything in my show notes, but I wondered if you wanted me to put this. I mean, yes, I'm gonna put your website there, the Jewel Consultancy, but do
Yes.
you want me also to include that part underneath where like it
Yeah.
says people can okay,
Yeah.
I would, but I just wanted to make sure before I did
I
include
just
all.
decided to do that recently because I was really getting the energy, let people know, because I'm going to meet really neat people. We're going to help each other. So I really want to
Yeah,
put that out there.
absolutely. And I am always looking to collaborate with people too. So if there's ever anything that comes up that we could do together in the future, I'm very open to that.
Awesome.
Okay, well, it's so nice to meet you. I hope you have a fabulous Friday. I think today's Friday, is that right?
Today is Friday.
Perfect. And a wonderful weekend.
Okay, take good care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops.
Emotionally unavailable.
All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.
Beautiful Anonymous changes each week. It defies genres and expectations. For example, our most recent episode, I talked to a woman who survived a murder attempt by her own son. But just the week before that, we just talked the whole time about Star Trek. We've had other recent episodes about sexting in languages that are not your first language, or what it's like to get weight loss surgery. It's unpredictable, it's real, it's honest, it's raw. Get Beautiful Anonymous wherever you listen to podcasts.